The needle goes in. That's where we start. Not because it's the most exciting part of your story, that comes later, we promise, but because everything after this moment is downstream of this one decision, and you should really sit with how casually you made it. You signed up for the Aegis program 11 days ago. You don't remember much of the intake interview because you were mostly thinking about the number on the compensation sheet, which had a lot of zeros and a signature line directly underneath them, which is generally how you know a number is serious. The technician, call her Dr. Whoever, because her badge is turned backward, and that is not a good sign, that is never a good sign, slides the plunger down. Cold spreads up your arm like a rumor. Somewhere behind the reinforced glass, 3 people in hazmat suits are not looking at you. They are looking at their shoes. People whose entire job is watching you do not look at their shoes unless the thing about to happen to you is the kind of thing you look away from. Congratulations, Dr. Whoever says, snapping off her gloves like she's already done with you, which, spoiler, she basically is. You are now the 41st human being to receive the Prometheus compound. 41st. That's a strange number to be proud of. You'd expect first. You'd expect only 41st implies a version history. 41st implies a very long line of people standing exactly where you're standing, feeling exactly what you're about to feel, and then, at some point between exactly what you're about to feel and right now, not existing anymore. You ask, because you have to, because it's the obvious question, and somebody has to be the one dumb enough to say it out loud. What happened to the other 40? Dr. Whoever's smile doesn't move. We don't really talk about Subject 0. Not the other 40. Subject 0. Singular. Like there's one name in this building that makes grown adults in hazmat suits suddenly find their shoes fascinating, and you are about to spend the next 19 minutes finding out why. Behind Dr. Whoever, mounted on the wall like it's supposed to be reassuring, is a corkboard. 40 photographs, 40 names, typed on little index cards, pinned underneath. You notice, because you have nothing else to do while the cold in your arm turns into something closer to warmth, that the pins get less careful the further down the board you look. The first few photos are pinned square, corners even, like someone was being professional about it. By photo 30, the pins are crooked. By photo 40, there's no photo at all, just a card, and the card just says Zeta, and someone has drawn a small, unbothered smiley face next to it, which is either the darkest joke in this building or the only honest thing on that wall. There's a 41st hook. It's empty. It's shaped exactly like where your photo is about to go. Here's the part nobody tells you about becoming a superhuman. There's paperwork. 19 pages of it, and you signed all 19 without reading past page 2, because page 2 had a clause about accelerated cellular repair, and your brain filled in the rest with a movie trailer. Let's go back and actually read what you agreed to, since you clearly didn't. Page 4. Subject acknowledges that enhancement may present as increased strength, speed, or durability, and reserves the right to also present as none of those things, several unlisted things, or things for which the English language does not yet have a word. Page 9. In the event of structural divergence, you didn't look that up, and we're begging you not to start now. The company's sole obligation is disposal, not explanation. Page 12 has a section titled Pets, Plants, and Other Nearby Living Things, which is not a section you want to exist, and definitely not one you want to have skipped. And page 14, this is the good one, this is the one that should have sent you sprinting for the exit. Compensation shall be paid in full, regardless of survival, to the beneficiary designated in Appendix C. You don't remember filling out Appendix C. You definitely filled out Appendix C. Somewhere in this building there's a folder with your handwriting in it and a name that isn't yours on the payout line, and you are choosing, right now, not to think about that. You signed anyway. Everybody signs anyway. That's not a flaw in the system. That is the system. You want the greatest hits. Fine. Dr. Whoever isn't going to give them to you, so we will, because you deserve to know exactly what you're the sequel to. Subject Alpha lasted 4 minutes. The serum did exactly what the brochure promised. Muscle density up 300%, reflexes through the roof. And then his heart, which had not received the memo about any of this, Tried to keep pace with a body built for a different heart entirely. 4 minutes. Cause of death, officially, enthusiasm. Subject Beta made it 11 days. 11. You'd call that a win. Beta would not call it a win, because Beta spent those 11 days regenerating tissue at a rate that outpaced his skeleton's ability to, contain it. We're not going to describe what contain it means in practice. Just know that the containment failed, and it failed at a dinner party, and there are 4 people who still can't eat soup. Subject Gamma is the one they show new hires as a cautionary slideshow. Gamma's cells didn't stop enhancing at muscle and bone. They kept going. Gamma's own immune system started enhancing too, got a little too enthusiastic about foreign invaders, and reclassified basically everything as a foreign invader. Food, air, the concept of Tuesday. Gamma lasted 6 hours and set what is still, to this day, the facility record for most alarms triggered by one guy. Subject Delta is where it stops being funny, or would, if the writer's room let it stop being funny, which it will not, because you need something to hold on to. Delta's transformation didn't fail outward, it failed inward. Delta is technically still alive, technically still on site, technically listed on 3 different forms as ongoing. Nobody visits Delta, nobody describes Delta. There is a door on sublevel 4 with a keypad and a small sign that just says, "Please knock first," and we are going to leave it there, because so did the documentary crew. Subject Epsilon we're mentioning purely, so you understand the compound learns. Epsilon's failure mode was new. Nobody had seen it before Epsilon, and, as of this recording, nobody's seen it since. Epsilon is the reason the facility now has a policy about mirrors. Subject Zeta lasted the shortest amount of time on record, technically. Zeta's file is 1 line long. Declined to remove wristwatch prior to dosing. See attached photo of wristwatch. We don't have the photo. We're told that's for the best. Subject Ada is the one the facility actually put in the training manual, under a heading that just reads, "Do not do what Ada did," with no further elaboration, because apparently even the safety officers agreed some things explain themselves. Ada's enhancement worked perfectly. Every metric, textbook, strength, speed, healing, all green across the board. Ada walked out of observation feeling, in his own words on the exit interview, like a god, honestly. He asked to test the strength himself, unsupervised, against a support column, just to see. The column lost. So structurally did the ceiling. So, very briefly and very memorably, did Eta. And then there's Subject 0. But like we said, we're saving that one. You'll want to be sitting down for it. You are sitting down for it actually, strapped into a chair, specifically so you can't do anything but sit down for it. So, good. That part's already handled. Day 1, you feel great. Suspiciously great. You run up 4 flights of stairs because you can, and because there is something deeply funny about outrunning your own doctors, who are now taking notes on clipboards with the specific urgency of people watching a pot they were told not to boil. Day 2, you notice you're hungry all the time. Not skipped lunch hungry, ate the entire contents of the vending machine and are eyeing the vending machine itself, hungry. The staff calls this accelerated metabolic demand, which is a polite way of saying your body has started treating itself like a construction site and needs the raw materials to match. Day 3 is when it gets interesting. Your hand heals a paper cut in real time. You watch it happen, skin knitting shut like a zipper being pulled by someone standing just out of frame, and you laugh, because it's incredible, because for about 4 seconds this feels like the best decision you've ever made. Day 4. You wake up and your left hand is a slightly different shade than your right hand. Not injured, not painful, just different. Like your body ran out of the original paint and grabbed the nearest can. Day 5. Nobody on staff will look directly at your hand anymore. They'll look near it, around it, at a clipboard slightly to the left of it. And here's the thing about people whose entire job is monitoring your vitals, refusing to make eye contact with a body part. It's never actually about the color. Day 6, you catch yourself counting your own fingers in the bathroom mirror, quietly, like it's a normal thing a person does, and you count 11, and then you count them again, more carefully, out loud this time, and you get 10, and you decide, actively, consciously decide, like flipping a switch in your own head, that the first count doesn't count. This is, incidentally, the exact moment you stop being able to trust yourself as a narrator of your own condition, and unfortunately, you're the only narrator you've got. You ask Dr. Whoever if this is normal. She checks a chart that definitely has your name on it and says, within expected parameters, which is the kind of sentence that's technically true and still makes you want to leave the building at a dead sprint. You don't. You can't, actually, and we'll get to why in a minute. But even if you could, some small, stupid, still hopeful part of you wants to see how this ends. That part of you is about to get its wish in ways it did not order. Here's a fun fact they buried on page 16 that you also didn't read. The Prometheus compound doesn't finish. It doesn't have an off. What it has is a maintenance schedule. A second dose, then a third, administered on a strict 12-hour clock, because the compound has already started rewriting your metabolism to run on it. Your body isn't enhanced anymore in the sense of upgraded. It's enhanced in the sense of dependent. Miss a dose and you don't go back to being regular old you. Regular old you isn't on the table anymore. Regular old you got overwritten around day 2. Miss a dose and your body, now running processes it was never designed to run, on fuel it no longer produces on its own, starts pulling resources from wherever it can find them. Organs, muscle, structural integrity generally. Subject beta, the 11-day guy from the dinner party? He didn't die from the serum working too well. He died because he tried to skip a dose to see how he felt without it. He felt fine for about 6 hours. You don't want to know about the 7th. So no, you can't stop. You could ask to stop, and people have. There's footage. It's not pleasant footage. But stopping isn't a service this facility offers, because stopping isn't actually possible anymore. You're not a volunteer at this point. You're an ongoing chemical process with a name tag. The second injection is already loaded into the automated line above your chair. It's on a timer. The timer started when you signed page 14 and didn't ask what Appendix C was. You wanted to know what happened to Subject 0. Fine. You've earned it, mostly by sitting there without a heart attack for this long, which honestly puts you ahead of Alpha already. Subject 0 wasn't Subject 0 because he was first. He was Subject 0 because the numbering had to start somewhere below 1, and 1 was already taken by an optimism this facility no longer has the budget for. Subject 0 was the prototype dose, 3 times the concentration you just received, back before anyone here understood what too much meant in a room full of people determined to find out. Subject 0 didn't die. That's the part nobody wants to say out loud, and it's also the part that should scare you more than any of the deaths did. Subject 0's body didn't reject the compound, and it didn't succumb to it. It integrated. Fully. Permanently. Subject 0 is still in this building, technically classified as facility infrastructure on the last 3 budget reports, because at some point, the legal team ran out of words for what he'd become, and infrastructure was the closest line item available. He doesn't have a room, he has a wing. The knock first door on sublevel 4? That's Delta's door. Subject 0 doesn't have a door. Subject 0 has a load-bearing wall, and the load-bearing wall used to have a face, and on certain nights the maintenance staff swear the wall still remembers how to use it. That's not a metaphor. We want to be very clear that on this specific channel, in this specific video, that is not a metaphor. And here's the beat where your own second dose kicks in, right on the 12-hour timer we mentioned. Because horror content doesn't pause for exposition, and neither does your endocrine system. Something under your skin, not on it, under it, starts to move independently of you, the way a muscle twitches after a long run. Except this muscle has opinions about where it's going. Your vision doubles, not because your eyes are failing, but because, and there's no gentle way to say this, you may be growing a second set. The lights overhead seem to multiply and swim. Your own hands, when you manage to lift them, don't feel like they're keeping to the outline you grew up with. There's sound, too, one you feel more than hear, a low structural creak, like a house settling, except the house is you, and houses don't usually settle in the direction of more. Your pulse, when you try to find it in your wrist the normal way, has relocated somewhere you weren't using it before. Nothing hurts. Exactly. Which is somehow worse than if it did, because pain would at least confirm you're the one this is happening to, and right now it feels like something is happening near you, using your body as the venue. Dr. Whoever, to her credit, does not flinch. She's seen this part before. She's seen this part 39 times before, actually, and this is the part where you finally, fully understand what 41st really meant. And then it stops. Just like that. The movement under your skin settles. Your vision snaps back to one clean, singular, extremely relieved view of the ceiling. The monitors, which had been screaming in a register you didn't know monitors could scream in, ease back into their normal, boring, reassuring beep. Dr. Whoever actually smiles, and this time it reaches her eyes, and she says the two best words you've heard since you walked into this building. Stabilizing. Nicely. You made it. You're the one. Out of 40 subjects and one increasingly load-bearing wall, you're the one whose body figured out how to hold the compound without falling apart, without going quiet behind a keypad door, without becoming part of the architecture. You did it. And you feel, this is the part that should worry you, but relief is a hell of a drug. Proud. They unstrap you. They hand you a bottle of water like this was a spin class. Someone in a hazmat suit actually claps, twice, before remembering himself and stopping. You did it. You're the exception. And we want you to really sit in this feeling for exactly as long as it takes to read the next line, because it's the last nice feeling you're getting in this video. Fine. Dr. Whoever pulls out a fresh clipboard. Not your chart, a new one, blank. She clicks her pen, and somewhere behind you, in a hallway you hadn't noticed before, a door opens, and you hear, because your hearing is better now, one of the nicer side effects, genuinely, the sound of new arrivals being let in, nervous, excited, signing things they haven't read. Congratulations, Dr. Whoever says, not to you this time, past you, to them. And you realize, with the particular clarity that only comes after you've stopped being able to lie to yourself, that stabilizing was never the finish line, it was the qualifying round. The compound didn't stop rewriting you when it stopped trying to kill you. It just moved on to the next draft. Somewhere down on sublevel 4, there's a wall that used to have a face. Somewhere in about 11 days, if the pattern holds, and the pattern always holds, there's going to be a sublevel 5. You open your mouth to warn the new arrivals. Your voice comes out wrong. Not broken, improved. Deeper, clearer, load-bearing. Congratulations, you hear yourself say, and you don't remember deciding to say it. You are now the 42nd human being to receive the Prometheus compound. Somewhere down the hall, a new voice, young and hopeful and about to be very, very wrong, asks the obvious question. What happened to the other 41? You don't answer. You've got a wing to get used to. End.